ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकथा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगरविनाथं तं श्रीगुरुं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् संललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभांसुदे प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। Let's hold on. So my humble obeisance to the dust of feet of all the devotees. I will just read the translation again. O most auspicious Lord, you have ordained the heavenly planets, the spiritual Vaikuntha planets, and the impersonal Brahman sphere as the respective destinations of the performers of auspicious activities. Similarly, for others who are miscreants, you have destined different kinds of hells which are horrible and ghastly. Yet sometimes it is found that their destinations are just the opposite. It is very difficult to ascertain the cause of this. I'm very unqualified. You all are more qualified. You are more advanced in Bhakti Yoga. But I seek all of your blessings so that I can speak something for my own purification and to glorify the great devotees, Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, very wonderful translation actually. So, actually, our previous acharyas actually mentioned that how pious and impious activities, they both, Srila Prabhupada says, both these activities, both are ultimately inauspicious for the living entities. So, Srila Prabhupada says in one lecture that Janma Ishwarya Shruta Shribir, that by performing pious activities, one gets high birth, one gets a lot of wealth, one becomes very learned, and one becomes very attractive. But all these things actually are not the real glory of the spirit soul. They are the glory, they're only the glory of the material body. They are not the glory of the soul. So the only real glory of the soul is in its ecstatic devotional service to Krishna. That is the only glory. And That is a very intimate, loving exchange between the Lord and his pure devotee. So that is the real glory of the soul in its loving exchange with Krishna. So Prabhupada is speaking in the purport that how Krishna, first Prabhupada speaks about how Krishna's will is supreme. And Prabhupada gives the example of Ajamil. The first example of Ajamil given in the purport highlights that how Ajamil, although he chanted the holy name for a very short period of, for without an intention to actually call uh, Narayan directly, but still he was delivered from the most sinful activities. So very wonderful that how Krishna is very merciful. When Krishna bestows mercy on who, we cannot say. That's why mercy is called causeless mercy. That's why we are only fortunate to be here. I am fortunate to be, I don't deserve to be here, but I'm just fortunate to be here. And it's very wonderful that you see like Haridas Thakur, who is actually Ajamil here, is glorifying the holy name. That how just by chanting the holy name, whether willingly addressing or not addressing, one gets incredible benefit. So our Acharya for the holy name is Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur, even when Haridas Thakur was chanting 192 rounds, still Haridas Thakur still thought himself unqualified to take darshan, to sit, to associate with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's intimate devotees. So Haridas Thakur never identified himself with his sadhana. He never claimed that, oh, I am capable, I am doing this sadhana, therefore I should behave like I am on that level. And there is nothing wrong for Haridas Thakur to do that because Haridas Thakur is on that level. It's one thing to imitate, it's one thing to act on a level which one is not situated, which I do a lot, very fallen, very hypocritical person. But Haridas Thakur, even though he is so qualified, he always took the position where far below his qualification. So this is a very wonderful theme in today's purport. And because he always took that platform, therefore, he glorified the holy name. That how the holy name makes one so humble, makes one so unassuming, makes one so simple, just like a small child. And then the next example given in the purport is Daksha. So what is the difference between Ajamil and Daksha? The difference between Ajamil and Daksha is that Ajamil, although Ajamil was engaged in so many impious, inauspicious activities, but because Ajamil did not criticize the devotees, therefore Ajamil got the benefit of chanting the holy name. But in the case of Daksha, because he criticized a great devotee of the Lord, myself, because he blasphemed a great devotee of the Lord, therefore all his pious activities, because the ultimate purpose, the ultimate purpose of all pious activities is actually to please Krishna, is to get Krishna, is to be situated in one's relationship with Krishna. But if one commits Vaishnava Parag, then those pious activities, instead of leading towards Krishna, they lead again to the cycle of birth and death. So then Prabhupada is speaking about this famous verse, Taptena Kamba, this is prayer by Lord Brahma, that how when a devotee goes through difficulty in his spiritual life, he just considers that it is the reaction for his past activities. Just as the fan, when you stop the fan will not stop immediately. The fan takes some time. So in the same way, the previous vasanas, or the impressions, or the habits, or the tendencies, they actually continue. And in order to curb those tendencies, Krishna actually gives little suffering. So the devotee, Prabhupada makes a very powerful point. He says he offers still more devotional service and is not disturbed. One who lives in such a disposition of mind, engaged in devotional service, is the most eligible candidate for promotion to the spiritual world. In other words, such a devotee's claim for promotion to the spiritual world is assured in all circumstances. So, first, most important thing to understand in this, I mean, for myself in this purport, is how humility is very, very powerful. When one is genuinely humble, not humble for the sake of attracting name, fame, not humble for this because we have to be humble, not humble, not even humble because of our anarthas, but ultimately humble if the highest platform of humility, I'm not there, but the highest platform of humility is humble because Krishna is so wonderful. Krishna is so great. Krishna has so many astonishing qualities. So, because of Krishna's amazing personality, a devotee always becomes humble because he sees that, wow, Krishna is such an epitome of devotion. Krishna's devotion to his devotees, Krishna's love for his devotees is so great. Therefore, the devotee takes a humble position in front of the devotion of Krishna towards his pure devotees, and takes a humble position in front of the devotion of other great devotees. So, this humility is very, very powerful. So, we can read about this humility because Kaviraj Goswami, I will read few verses. Kaviraj Goswami says that by becoming humble, by becoming humble, one's devotional service is solidly maintained. So this is Adi Leela, 17th chapter, Charitamrita, verse number 27. A devotee engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord should practice forbearance like that of a tree. Even if rebuked or chastised, he should not say anything to others to retaliate. For even if one cuts a tree, it never protests, and even if it is drying up and dying, it does not ask anyone for water. Thus, a Vaishnav should not ask anything from anyone else. If someone gives him something without being asked, he should accept it. But if nothing comes, a Vaishnav should be satisfied to eat whatever vegetables and fruits are easily available. One should strictly follow the principle of always chanting the holy name, and one should be satisfied with whatever he gets easily. Such devotional behavior solidly maintains one's devotional service. So, next is the famous verse. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give respect to others, can very easily chant the holy name of the Lord. So when one takes this humble position and doesn't depend on anyone for anything, depends only on devotees for his spiritual advancement, but does not depend on devotees for his sense gratification. It's far, I myself exploit so many devotees, but when we don't depend on anyone for our sense gratification, then what happens is that um, our devotional service becomes very strong because by nature we all need some sense gratification, and because we are not depending on others for sense gratification, then we'll have to depend on Krishna for sense gratification. And then Krishna, being very merciful, will uh, give our senses the transcendental taste of Krishna consciousness. And also, sometimes Krishna may give, sometimes Krishna may not give. So when Krishna does not give, it purifies us. It purifies us. Krishna also may give us some bodily suffering that also purifies us. But in any case, mat prananatastu saiva napara. So what is very important, the first principle in Bhakti Yoga is very important, is that Krishna is my only Lord. I have no other Lord. I have no other protector. I have no other maintainer. And not only I don't want also. I don't want also. Like functions like Diwali or Dasera or these kind of functions, or Raksha Bandhan, all these kind of functions, it is a very good distraction in bhakti, because it creates an idea in our heart that alternate shelter is good. So if someone is not distracted, yes, we can use all these festivals for preaching Krishna consciousness, no problem. But when it becomes distraction, then it distracts our surrender. It distracts our dependence on Krishna, and it's not so easy to depend on Krishna, to feel in the heart that Krishna, you are my only Lord, you are my only protector, you are my only maintainer. It's not so easy. It takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of sadhana. It takes a lot of kripa. To depend on Krishna is not easy. So that's the first principle, that as devotees we should not depend on others for as we progress in bhakti, we should aspire to become more and more and more um, dependent on Krishna, more and more surrendered to Krishna, and more interested, deeply interested in our deep relationship with Krishna internally. More and more we are conscious and more we're focused on this point, then naturally we'll be less interested in external name, fame, and external things. I mean, the best example is our Pravajan Acharya Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami, he was completely uninterested in the external world, so much so that it is said about the sadhana of Raghunath Das Goswami that he would sleep only 2 hours out of 24, eating and sleeping barely 2 hours. And sometimes you will forget that also. And most of the time, Raghunath Das Goswami was in internal consciousness, which means that most of the time he was deep in the internal world. So humility helps us to go deep into the internal world, because vision, experience of the internal world, it comes by mercy. But the secret to get that mercy is this humility, this utter humility. Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Grace Bhadacha Prabhu has stuck a note on his nearest table that utter humility is the main qualification to actually receive Prema Bhakti. So, in a devotee's life, so many sufferings may come. Sometimes it may even appear that because of performing more bhakti, more problems may come in one's life. But ultimately, all these problems are just meant to purify, are meant to bring us closer and closer to Krishna, are meant to intensify our devotional service to Krishna. So Haridas Thakur, who is our Namacharya, Haridas Thakur very solidly uh, followed this principle, that he lived very simply, chanted the holy name without desiring any name, any fame, nothing. And as a result of that, Lord Chaitanya used to personally come and give him his association, give him Jagannath Prasad, give him so much love every day. So when one rejects all other shelters in this world, then Krishna becomes very merciful on him. So the Panchtattva actually, they embody this fact that yes, one should fast from material sense gratification, but one should engage in spiritual activities which are very enlivening to the heart. Mm. Like kirtan, like service, like glorifying devotees. Actually, glorifying devotees is the greatest thing, one of the greatest things we can actually do in our spiritual life. Because when we glorify devotees, what happens is our heart becomes free from the disease of envy. When we genuinely glorify, it destroys the disease of envy in the heart. And envy is the main cause for us not attaining love for Krishna. Because to attain love for Krishna, to love Krishna, one has to be in the position of a servant, which means that Krishna is the only enjoyer. Like Krishna's will is supreme, Krishna is supremely independent, and I'm okay with that. I'm completely okay with that, that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And I am Krishna's servant eternally. And I will attain my happiness by serving him, by serving. So, to get that mood, one has to become free from envy. So, by glorifying devotees, and when you see, we don't have to necessarily always glorify, because sometimes devotees may not appreciate, but yes, at least in our mind, we can glorify that. Wow, this devotee, such amazing service he is doing. He's receiving so much mercy. And in the heart, feeling so happy that, wow, I wish, I pray that he receives more and more mercy. He receives more and more taste in bhakti. So, Krishna is supremely independent. Krishna's will is supremely independent. But there is one great hope in our spiritual life, that when we take shelter of the lotus feet of devotees, then immediately we can experience Krishna's grace. Krishna may give us grace, may bestow grace on us directly, may not. But when we can associate with pure devotees, exalted devotees who are receiving that grace, then in that we can actually, in that experience, we can experience Krishna immediately. Actually, it's so incredible that what Krishna gives to a devotee as he practices devotional service is so incredible. Like Mahatma Prabhu, I don't know how many of you heard that I sent that video. Mahatma Prabhu mentioned that he had a recent bypass surgery, and it was very painful, it was very debilitating. Mahatma Prabhu said the experience he had was that he pretty much, he said, he entered the spiritual world and he came back to this world. And yesterday I was just hearing one short kirtan by Mahatma Prabhu. Just there are the Mother Kirtan, very short, 1 2 minutes. And I was just appreciating how sweet, how divine that kirtan was. That it's direct, it's very clearly visible that his love for Krishna, like he is relishing his love for Krishna, and he's so happy. Like it's a Zoom class, it's not even a in-person class. He's not, there are no instruments, he's just playing like a keyboard or something, or piano, something. And he's relishing that. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. That when one can relish, that is the greatest gift in life. That's what we are here in Bhakti for, to relish the taste, to relish, to taste the sweetness of Krishna consciousness, the sweetness of the holy name, the sweetness of the holy places, the sweetness of devotees. So the secret to actually that taste is this tattena compound susamikshama. That in the purport to this verse, it is said that when one offers obeisances with mind, body, and words. So when can one offer obeisances? Only when one becomes completely dependent, when one becomes completely surrendered, when there is no other way, only then is it possible to have this mentality. If there is any other way, then naturally the tendency will be to rebel. But when one realizes that there is no other way, the only hope for me is Krishna's mercy, devotee's mercy. When one is completely convinced, causeless mercy is the only solution to all my problems. Nothing else can solve all my problems. So when one realizes that, and one goes very deep internally, and one starts crying for Krishna, oh Krishna, please, from within the core of the heart, offering prayer to Krishna, that Krishna, please, I am so fallen, I am so small, and I just have one desire, that I want to develop my love for you. I want to experience uh, what it feels like to be uh, in love with you. So when one has that sincere desire, mm, and without any strings or without anything else attached to it, then only one can offer this kind of uh, with mind, body, and words. He can offer obeisances, and he can accept that, yeah, actually I should have, I sorry, actually I should have gone through more suffering, but Krishna is so merciful that Krishna is only giving me so little suffering. So, when one has that kind of mentality, that becomes the fuel for intense sadhana, for intense sadhana, for intense desire to do whatever it takes to get Krishna's mercy. Because disturbances will always be there because we are in this material world. But only when we come to this point that I have no other way and I need this at any cost. Only when one comes to this point that I need this at any cost, no name, no fame, nothing will is going to satisfy me. So, and only when one becomes fully satisfied, I mean, fully convinced on that platform, then only it is possible to walk the path to Krishna Prem. Because His Grace Haripashad Prabhu mentions a very strong point, that one of the reasons why we don't get love of Krishna is because Krishna himself is hesitant to give that thing. Because Krishna knows once he gives that thing to the living entity, the living entity becomes equal with him qualitatively. And then the living entity will control him. So Krishna wants to test. Krishna wants to see whether someone actually wants that and only that. Because Krishna engagement with his pure devotee is that he only thinks about his pure devotee. Each pure devotee in any planet, Krishna is completely, fully, 100% conscious of that pure devotee. Krishna never forgets that pure devotee. Krishna doesn't take a break, that for some time he thinks, then he forgets, like conditioned souls like myself in this world. No, Krishna always thinks, always has yukta, always is connected to his pure devotee. Therefore, to attain the stage of pure devotional service, one has to have that kind of intense desire, intense desire. And then, as a result of that, one's heart becomes open to receive the mercy of pure devotees of the Lord. One's heart becomes open to actually feel the greatness of the pure, the devotion, the great devotion of the pure devotees of the Lord. That is the greatest gift of Krishna, when Krishna can allow us to experience, to feel the love in the heart of the pure devotees, can feel how their heart is melting in their devotion for Krishna. So there's around 2 weeks left in this Kartik month. So I don't know how the first 2 weeks were for everyone. But our goal should be that in this month, whatever time is remaining, we should try our best to push ourselves. As Holiness Ranat Maharaj says, that we have to constantly push ourselves, push ourselves, push ourselves, push ourselves. Because otherwise, naturally, the nature of the material world is the material world will push us down. The material energy is constantly pushing us down. The material energy will never facilitate in such a way that it will encourage us to come to the temple, chant the holy name, take us, take association of the great devotees. But we have to push ourselves with the help of the devotee association. We have to constantly push ourselves. So Lord Chaitanya, as soon as he saw Govardhan Hill, Lord Chaitanya started crying. He bathed Govardhan Hill with his tears. And it is said that Lord Chaitanya's tears is so powerful that just because of his tears, Govardhan Hill melted, literally melted. Actually, Govardhan is very dear to Srila Prabhupada, very dear to our parampara, very, very, very dear. Saraswati Thakur also in his last days, he singing the prayer to Govardhan. Nija nikata nivasam dehi Govardhan tvam. Nija nikata nivasam dehi Govardhan tvam. Because why Govardhan is so special? Because Govardhan is actually Krishna's love for Srimati Radharani. Just as Lord Chaitanya, his body is actually, it is said that one of the descriptions of Mahaprabhu is actually Mahaprabhu's form symbolizes the love between Radha and Krishna. And that is, of course, Krishna's love for Radharani. Actually, Mahaprabhu's body symbolizes Krishna's love for Radharani. That's why Krishna crying for Krishna. So Govardhan is the highest tattva, and that's why Radharani glorifies Govardhan. Girindra Baharidasa Shrinivaryeti Nama Mritamidam Uditam Shri Radhika Vapra Chandrat. So Mritam Idam Uditam, which means it springs from the deepest core of Radharani's heart. But oh, Radharani is praising Govardhan. Mm, mm. व्रजनवतिलकत्वे क्लुप्तवेदस्फुटं मे निजनिकटनिवासं देहि गोवर्धनत्वम्. So this Govardhan is the tilak. Just like you look at any person, the first thing you see, the most prominent thing should be the tilak. The tilak is the main ornament of a devotee. Mm. The main ornament of a devotee is tilak. So the main ornament of the main tilak of Raja is actually Govardhan. Mm. So Govardhan puja is very special in our parampara. Mm. And Govardhan puja, it actually represents that how wonderful is the association of devotees. This Govardhan Puja is so special because only in Govardhan Leela you see all the associates in different rasas, they all coming together. So it's actually not different from Sankirtan. It says Mahaprabhu's movement is Sankirtan, Govardhan. As Krishna is lifting Govardhan, so many pastimes are going on simultaneously. That actually shows that how that Krishna gathered everyone under the umbrella of Govardhan and nourished everyone with his transcendental sweetness, transcendental rasa. So more and more we take association of devotees and perform devotional service together with great enthusiasm, encouraging one another, appreciating one another, taking shelter of one another in a devotional sense, not in a material sense, but in a devotional sense. There is a famous verse, Parasparanu Katanam. Uh, it's a very wonderful verse in Bhagavatam, which is said that how devotees should discuss bhakti in such a way that one should feel disgusted towards the material world and one should become enthusiastic to love Krishna. That is a real association. So then we can really understand how much we're associating with devotees. Association means this. This is real association. परस्परस्पना परस्परानुकथनम पावनम भगवद यशः मितो रतिर मितस्तुष्टिर निवृत्तिर मीत आत्मना. One should learn how to associate with the devotees of the Lord by gathering with them to chant the glories of the Lord. This process is most purifying as devotees thus develop their loving friendship. They feel mutual happiness and satisfaction. And by thus encouraging one another, they are able to give up material sense gratification, which is the cause of all suffering. Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, verse number 30. So, whatever is remaining in this month, we can try our best to increase our endeavors in Krishna consciousness. So, what should be the swarup? What should be the mood of someone who is actually becoming closer to the divine couple? Of course, it is a little high song, but it is very worthy, it is very relevant to us. That famous song, Narottam Das Thakur, uh, even Shilvaksandi Thakur sung this song, heard this song last few days before he left this world. So, this Sri Rupa Manjari Pad, it's written by Narottam Das Thakur. So in that song, he's praying to Rupa Goswami's eternal form. And that's very wonderful. That's very high. But if we can just replace uh, that with the spiritual master, the lotus feet of the spiritual master are my treasure, my devotional service, my object of worship. They give my life meaning and they are the life of my life. They are the perfection of rasa and they are perfection worthy of attainment. They are the very law of the Vedic scriptures for me. They are the meaning of all my fasts and penances and my silent uttering of my mantras. They are the basis of religion and activities. So when one has that kind of Guru Bhakti, that kind of unflinching faith and dependence towards Guru, towards previous acharyas, that is a sign that yes, he is progressing, he is going towards a pure devotional platform. And then he can collect from the heart of the previous acharyas their divine sentiments, their moods, because ultimately we are just, shoe carriers, mm, shoe shiners of the previous acharyas, this Haripashad Prabhu says. Uh, we just want to be at their feet. So when one can feel this intense attachment to them, then one's devotional service can become really intense. Because Raghunath Goswami says that the first rule to progressing on the internal path is to develop unprecedented and intense love towards a spiritual master. So when one has that kind of deep attachment, and of course that is only by Guru's mercy, but when one feels that deep attachment, one cultivates that deep attachment in the association of devotees, then that attachment will carry one through this dangerous, dark uh, tunnel of facing all the obstacles in the spiritual path. So we can take shelter. We can really try to please, taking a very humble position, really begging for mercy, really begging for mercy. And ultimately speaking to myself, doing whatever it takes to maintain that humble disposition of mind. Raghunath Goswami says again and again, give up hypocrisy, give up deviousness. So this is one of the most difficult things to give up, this hypocrisy. So more and more one is conscious of his real position, taking complete shelter, and also not trying not to depend on anyone for one's sense gratification. It's like so many things. The great devotees are mistreated in so many ways. Prahlad Maharaj was mistreated in so many ways, but he never took shelter of his anyone practically. What to speak of? He didn't even take shelter of Krishna to save his situation. He never prayed to Krishna that Krishna, please save my body. He just thought of Krishna and he trusted that Krishna, whatever Krishna would do, would be best for him. So that is the great example of the acharyas, that they never think about their happiness, their own happiness. They only think about Krishna's happiness. That is Braj Bhakti. That is real Vrindavan Bhakti, which is far beyond even my comprehension. So, the greatest hope for us is that there is no impediment to attaining the Lord's mercy. Prahlad Maharaj heard from Narad Muni when he was in the womb of his demoniac mother. And when he came out, he was in a very unfavorable situation. In that situation, Prahlad Maharaj not only practiced very intense sadhana, but Prahlad Maharaj also preached very aggressively. And he faced extreme consequences for his aggressive preaching also. I mean, of course, they're not consequences, they're glories. But how was it possible for him to maintain that kind of intensity, that kind of fixation, because of Narad Muni's mercy? So there is no impediment to attaining mercy from the pure devotees if we only have intense desire and we maintain this humility and we maintain internally that yes, I am nobody. I have no qualification. I have no qualification, and even if I get any qualification, it is not my qualification. That is causeless mercy. Causeless mercy. So that intense attachment to the pure devotees is our greatest source of inspiration, is our greatest source of enthusiasm, greatest source of determination. That intense, that loving attachment, that yeah. So this is what we can cultivate in this Kartik month. The Kartik month is a springboard for us to go deeper into our devotion, to go deeper into our deep desire to actually to develop love for Krishna, to develop love for the uh, eternal associates of Krishna. So this is what I could speak today. Does anyone have any question or comment? Online? Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize video is turned off. That's it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Wonderful. Very, very nice insight and very nice mood setting for Karthik. Thank you.
Anyone else has any question or comment? Okay, so we will end here. I need your blessing so that I can really make the best use of this month and really use all of my mind, my body, my words to actually give pleasure to the Lord. Panchakalpatarubhyasya Gopasudabhyavaccha Anantakoti Vaishvanivijaya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Shyam Kishore Prabhu ki jai.
All of you.
Thank you so much.